Astrology and immigration is next. This is quite a big one. We're going into this area here, all connected again by that snake. So I'm also just going to remind you though too, how this is kind of tough, passing on this information that some of us are well involved in. I mean, I know myself, I used to get into a lot of, tarot reading and all that stuff. I think we're actually on this spiritual journey and we're looking for that truth. We are, not only physical bodies, we're spiritual and emotional. So it's a journey that we know, we're looking for that peace and that love. But there is so much information out there, and because of this snake system, it just, it gets in so many areas and intertwines in so many areas of our lives. And I know myself personally that when you're thinking on the right track, you often can be surprised as time goes on. But it is a journey. I'm revealing this information because it comes back down to the Bible and what Father has revealed to me. So I'm going to put up this tree again because this is the tree of life, and this is what he wants. He wants life. He wants to give you life. And I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me, which is in Exodus 20, verse 2 to 3. It seems where there's just so much today. There is a lot of gods we're worshipping we don't even realize. If we come into his heart, again, we come to the tree, meet him at the cross, and we have a choice. This is my truth, and I'm very strongly convicted of it. But and I always say, perfect love casts out all fear. And it's the fruits, the joy, the happiness, the peace, the love, all those wonderful things. Self-control is the fruits of the Holy Spirit, or the Ruach HaKodesh, which breathes in life. So here we are. He is the heart of the tree, which of course is healing to the nations, and we all can come into that covenant and be protected by him, and he will love us and he will show you the way. So Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And we have a choice, like I've said earlier. We're going to meet him at the crossroads, and where are we? What are we going to choose in our life? Are we going to take a bypass and, man's way, or the Egyptian slavery way? It comes down to that. We have a choice. But I have to say, personally speaking, he gives me hope, he gives me strength, he gives me healing, he gives me much love. I'm not afraid to speak out anymore and what people think. I'm here to pass on a message, and this message is in love to others. And may I hope that you have eyes to see and ears to hear. Okay. So anyway, we're going to go into now with, I'll say astrology is the first part of this. I mean, many people are looking to other areas in our lives for finding out, when we're going to be financially successful, or when we're going to have a home, or a new husband, or new partner, or new wife, whatever, or how many children we want. We're looking into our future, and we're actually coming back to man to actually find that out. So we're looking to clairvoyance, we're looking to tarot reading, and this is because we've come away from him. And honestly, if you ask him, he will reveal things in his time, and you actually learn patience in that as well, and a complete faith and trust in knowing he's got your best interests at heart. So the sad reality is this is what's happened in the past is happening today. So it's amazing when you read the Bible, you actually see the Bible, the page is leaping off, because you can actually see it today. You can see it's actually happening now as what has happened in the past, and it's happened so many times. And it seems that us people aren't learning from history, which repeats itself often, time and time again. So because we've come away from God, or Yah, Elohim, nations have allowed other gods to come in. This happened in the Bible, especially with King Solomon. He was influenced, sadly, by a woman and her spell. It's like the Medusa spell, the flattery, the lovely talk and seduce. He liked women. He enjoyed being seduced by women. So that sadly, he came away from God because of those influences, and this allowed other gods to come into that nation at that time, and it overtook. And again, as he says, no more gods before me. Because of this, the kingdom fell into darkness. And it seems, like I say, the same pattern is happening today. So a lot of people are believing in these things that, like I said, God, our Father in heaven, who I call him Father, he's a father to me. And he's the only one I worship and I communicate with in this way. So, but because we don't believe in him, or we think that like I said, he's a bad guy and he's actually causing all the war and the destruction. No. It's man that's causing all that. He's just sitting back thinking, when are we going to turn to him? So we can actually, because we need to be peacekeepers, you know what I mean? But we need to understand him to actually receive our peace. And peace comes from us first. So we must get it ourselves. The war starts from the home, starts from ourselves, and then it radiates out. So basically, a lot of people now, because they're not turning to him, they're believing in gods and goddesses, magic spells, all these things, astrology, natural healing, fear. Healing comes from him. So we're going to talk into that again. Father's revealed so much to me with his way, but there's always a counterfeit as well who's trying to snatch and grab, and you pay a lot of money for it as well at the same time. There's tarot, there's supernatural, there's karma, and a lot of people believe in themselves that, we're invincible, too much pride there, and many people actually creating themselves to be gods, or goddesses. So these are the things, really, that is definitely, again, no more gods before him, and these are certainly types of gods. And like I said, this was an area that I was once into myself, but it's a path, and just hope that he may lead your path as well, to seek him out, because he's the ultimate and the only, in my opinion. But also too, this is where the system of trickery comes in, because, like I say, this catechist, many people are worshipping through the chakras and all these things. So again, here's the catechist. It's always resembled. This is the Eye of Horus, another god back in Egyptian times. So these are the gods that goes, and they're everything. You've got the Asclepius, you've got the witches. And look, there's witches on TV now. You see that. I've seen, especially from Australian television, they've got the white witches, which is basically the good witch. So there's all these areas where we've been led away from him. We're not worshipping him. So the key words for all this that we get tricked into, you've got your natural type of healing. You've got to be careful of that. Not all are from him. Astral travel, dream interpretation, divination, past lives, karma and all that sort of stuff. Portals, doorway, ancestral work, channeling, medium, Reiki, out of body, tantras, all this magic, alchemy, psychedelics, meditation. It's important for us not to actually keep our minds blank. I like to have relaxation, don't get me wrong, so I love massage, but I don't like emptying my mind, you know what I mean? So to me, I pray and I meditate with him, but he actually fills you with information, and he fills you. He doesn't empty you as such. Gods and goddesses, again, we're coming into these classic sort of ones, the circuit, the Medusa, which is, like I said, the Medusa spell, which is like a Jezebel spirit, which is just huge. It's even in the churches. It's sadly something that it's snuck in, and it's in many of our whole lives today. Asclepius, like I said, the catechist, the Asclepius, the widgets, the Kali, there's a whole heap of stuff. Again, the symbols, the catechist, the wands, the web, the dream catchers, all these type of things. Aliens are big at the moment. The funny thing is people think, oh, you're a bit crazy because, you believe in God. But it's amazing how many people believe in all these sort of things. And I think, they're a little bit more out there than actually praying and believing in our God who loves us and directs us to truth and to life. But again, this is where it's coming back especially to the snake gods, which is something, like I say, it's just come into our world so it's huge within our, especially in the Western world now, but it's radiated to the West hugely. The Muslims, again, or Islam, they worship the moon, the sun, and the stars. And in Allah, in Hebrew, of course, Allah, you would have heard that. Hebrew means curse, which is a serpent and a snake. And there we are again. And this is, of course, the Turkish flag. And here we have the sun, the moon, and the stars, which is what they worship. And here is that classic catechist, the Isis, Queen of Heaven, and Ishtar, which, of course, are connected. There's the goddess that they worship. Now, amazing thing, Allah, the curse, is quite interesting because in Hebrew, Allah means curse. So when you actually study the Bible, it's amazing where you actually see things are today. Therefore, the curse has devoured the earth, and those who dwell in it are desolate. So we're empty, we're sterile, we haven't got any life within us. And you actually see people today, they're not happy, they haven't got joy, they're not spirit-filled, they're not energetic, there's no zeal in them, they're empty vessels are walking around, and we've become sort of mummified as such, from Egypt. So this is Isaiah 24:6, and again, right back in the garden when it was Adam and Eve, the serpent was lurking and trying to take her away, as God only wanted them to eat from one, not to eat from one tree. This is the tree of good and evil. The tree of life is what they were meant to be eating off, but the serpent tricked her eating the forbidden fruit, which of course is like our GMOs. It's the forbidden fruit. And so she was tricked, and of course they sinned, and things went dark from there, basically. And we still haven't learnt. And again, Isis is the serpent goddess of ancient Egypt, and she's an important source of Pharaoh's power. So here we are again, just a reminder. So again, in the garden, where they've come away from eating the tree of life, and they were tricked, eating from the tree of good and evil, which of course is where the serpent was. Isis is the Isis goddess all the way through. So there we are again, and this is also a resemblance. Again, this is the power and the money, the Illuminati, all these things are all tied up into, but where they source their power, again, comes right back in the garden, which is Isis all the way through, Ishtar, Queen of Heaven. And this resembles, of course, the money, and you'll know that is on the American, the USA dollar bill. It's all there. It's illuminated. Illuminati. There we go. There's the gods. It's come back to Pharaoh's time. Isis also represents the spirit of the daughter of Babylon. So it's the moon goddess, the darkness, it's the snake. Snakes sort of lurk around the dark and they'll bite. And it's a spiritual battle that's going on. So people are, we're looking for spiritual truth. So there's actually a lot of darkness in the world because it's demonic. It's not for our good. It's because we're not looking up and him in whole, and we're actually allowing these other gods to come before us and before him. So the Jezebel spirit, which is like a Medusa, like I said, the Ishtar, and this is where he's wanting us to come out of her, my people, lest you'll share in her sins, which is death. So, and this is like the Revelation 18:4. Meaning of Isis Ishtar is actually, it means personal freedom to do anything that feels good. So if it feels great, just go for it. This is what freedom's supposed to be about. You can do what you want. And there's freedom. And she's basically the matron goddess, Ishtar, Jezebel type of spirit, of prostitution. So she's like a harlot, goddess of war, definitely not a peacemaker, and goddess of immigration. So as we've come away from things, then Isis enters into our nations, which is exactly what's happening today. And here she is. So come out of her, my people. She is feasting on the nations, and we're feeding her, and it's a two-way street with what's going on. So she gives to the nations power and wealth, and they feed her back the sacrifices, which of course is death. Again, because we've come away from our God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, people think, oh, what's he doing? There's no God. He's not here to help us. No. How can he honor us when we're not honoring him? It's the wrong way around. Man is in following the lusts of the world. We like these things, we like to have drunk and have sex and to multiple people, whatever it is. We like it. We seem to like it. And not only that, is that we actually seem to like to gossip about people and bring people down and just all these things. So, which is not godly. It's not love, and it's not righteous. So we're living in a dark world, and this is allowing the enemy to enter in more and more. So we need to be honoring him so he can honor us and protect us, so we can come away from this awful system of death. And because it's rising, and we all know that it's rising. We're thinking, what's going on? But it's rising because, even like our governments aren't telling us the whole truth, because it's governed by this whole system itself. But, it's like the chicken and the egg scenario, which comes first, you know what I mean? So we're all feeding into it. Some of us are completely unaware of it, but we also know something's really wrong. So, basically, because we've come away from him, immigration of ISIS Islam has increased dramatically. The snake is entering many nations, and we all know this is what's happening. This is biblical prophecy. This is what's been mentioned in the Bible. If you know your Bible, this is what's going on. So here it is. ISIS, Islam, they want to take over the world. They'll dominate the world. This is their plans, They think vengeance is theirs, and Sharia law and all these things they're wanting to put into the way they rule the world, which is control, it's trickery, it's death, it's a hatred system. It's definitely not peacemaking, because it comes from Ishtar, Isis, Queen of Heaven. Wrong gods. Again, like I said, she is the goddess of war and immigration, and she is a threat to humanity. We've really got to see that we've become such a PC world, though, that because we don't know the Bible very well, we're actually allowing the enemy coming in. Even though, look, these people, most of them don't even want to do it. They just, this is the way it is. It's demonic. They've been led to believe this is correct. But if we don't know him, and we don't know his word, how can we know what's going on? How can we know what's coming into our land is actually good for us? You know what I mean? It's like all the GMOs. We're allowing it, It's sneaking in everywhere, and we're still eating it. So as we're eating the physical wrong, we're also having the spiritual wrong at the same time. So they're connected. So it's something we have to really, again, it's a big yucky world out there what's happening, and it's dark times right at the moment. But when you have him, you'll always have a peace, and you always have a hope. So the solution is always meet him at the cross, and he will guide you all the way. And no matter what is going on in the world, you always just look to him, and he is our hope, and he is our saviour. Always has a happy ending, by the way. And especially, let's say, when you come and you turn, you come to him. So with all this mess that's going on, day 4, with astrology, again, that's the counterfeit system that's been come through from this whole system of ISIS. But he wants, with a solution coming into the tree of life, is day 4. Back in Genesis is how he created and how the intended plan was for us. Is day 4 is guided by the times and seasons, stars, sun and moon. So it's all there, but it's for guidance, not worship, which is quite different. So God makes the sun for the day and the moon for the night. He also makes the stars in the sky, which is in Genesis 1:14 to 19. And be aware not to lift up your eyes to heaven and see the sun and the moon and stars, all the host of heaven, and be drawn away and worship them and serve them. Deuteronomy 4 verses 19. So he doesn't want you worshipping them like Ishtar, Isis, Queen of Heaven. No, not worship them. He's created these things for guidance, so we know the seasons and the times. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Psalm 19 verse 1. He's a mighty God, mighty Elohim, and he's created these things for our good. And that's good.